In question number 17, this is basically a very complicated looking question, but if you think of it from terms of economics, from the economic point of view, this function is basically a function that we use a lot in economics. So let's try to figure out what this function is. So for every price vector, there exists a x. Let's call this x as the demand function, some demand or some bundle x as a function of p, such that f, now let's call this function f as your utility function. So you're saying that for every price vector there exists a bundle such that the utility at that bundle is greater than equals to 1, and price p dot x, so p dot x is price vector dot product bundle, so this is basically expenditure of consuming that bundle is less than equals to expenditure of consuming a bundle y for any other y in the consumption set, okay, such that y satisfies that the utility at y is greater than equals to 1. Okay, so then you define a new function g, which is basically a function of p, such that g of p is equals to p dot x of p. Okay, so basically what he's saying is, in the set of all bundles for which utility is greater than equals to 1, for any price vector p, x of p is the cheapest bundle. Okay, so that's what this part implies. Okay, so this part, that p x of p is less than equals to py for all y such that utility greater than equals to 1. So in the set of all the bundles which have utility greater than equals to 1, for any price vector p, x of p is the cheapest bundle. Then he is asking me to show that the function, then he is telling me that the function g, okay, so function g is just expenditure of consuming this bundle x. So let's look at a graph that will give me a better understanding. So let's say this is a graph and of goods x1 and x2, okay, and let's consider that this is your f of x equals to 1, and this is the entire region for f of x greater than equals to 1. Okay, okay, so this is the entire set of utility greater than equals to 1. Now given any price vector p, this is going to be the cheapest bundle. So if this is your p vector, okay, if this is your p vector or minus p vector, whatever, this is your p1 by p2 basically. If this line segment has slope p1 by p2, then I know that this point is going to be the cheapest point. So this is your x of p, okay, and then p dot x of p becomes just the expenditure. For different price vectors you will have different bundles. So for some other price vector p prime, you will have this as your x of p prime. Okay, so for different price vectors you will have different bundles. So let me call this red bundle, okay, let's call this as p1 vector and p2 vector. Okay, so let's proceed from here now that we understand what this thing is, p1 vector and p2 vector, p1 vector and p2 vector. Okay, so p1 vector, p2 vector, so these are two vectors. Okay, so these are not p1 p2. Okay, p1 vector is p11 p12 and p2 vector is p21 p22. Okay, so each vector has prices of both goods x1 and x2. So given p1 vector and p2 vector, he is asking me about the function g. Okay, so let's look at what happens to this function g. Okay, this function g is nothing but the expenditure function. Okay, so this is question number 17. So I have to show that the expenditure function g is one of these things, linear, convex. Answer is concave. So let's proceed with this idea of showing that it is concave, although in exam you do not have this benefit, but I'm going to go ahead with this idea and I'm going to show it to be concave. So g of p1 vector, this is equal to p1 dot x of p1, vector, okay, and g of p2 vector is equals to p2 vector dot x of p2 vector, okay. Now imagine another price vector p prime, which is basically lambda times of p1 vector plus 1 minus lambda times of p2 vector. Okay, so I am going ahead with this idea that I have to show that the expenditure function g is concave in prices. So I am taking a convex combination of p1 and p2 vector, okay, and now I say that p1 vector dot x times p1 vector is less than or equal to p prime into x of p1 vector, okay. uh, Sorry, less than equals to p1 vector dot x of p2, sorry, p prime vector, okay. Let me call this as p prime vector, okay. So now this relationship happens because for prices p1 vector, x of p1 vector is the cheapest bundle, okay. So that's given to me, that's basically your Hickson demand. So you're saying that x of p1 is your Hickson demand, okay. So x of p1 should be cheaper than x at p prime when prices are p1 vector. So see, p1 vector is constant on both the sides, okay. So for so this is, let's say, my relationship number 1. So relationship number 1 says that when prices are p1 vector, x of p1 vector should be the cheapest bundle. Similarly, when prices are p2 vector, then the bundle x of p2 vector should be the cheapest bundle. So into x of p prime vector, okay. So this is your relationship number 2. So now that you have your two relationships, I can just combine them. So I can write lambda times of relationship 1 plus 1 minus lambda times of relationship 2 implies that p1 vector plus lambda times of p1 vector dot x p1 vector plus 1 minus lambda times of p2 vector dot x p2 vector, this should be less than or equal to the right hand side has x p prime common, okay. So this will have just p prime lambda times of p1 vector plus 1 minus lambda times of p2 vector. Let me erase this thing, write it again, lambda times into dot of x p prime vector, okay. So this should be true. Now see that this is nothing but g1 vector and this is nothing but g2 vector, okay, and this is nothing but p prime, okay. So what I get is so from all this what I get is lambda times g1 vector plus 1 minus lambda times of g2 vector is less than or equal to p prime x of p prime, okay. And p prime is, as you might remember, is nothing but lambda p1 plus 1 minus lambda p2, okay. So I'm saying that lambda times functional value, so convex combination of functional values is less than equals to the functional value at the convex combination. So this is basically a definition of okay, so this is basically your g of p prime vector. So g at x1 and g at x2 का convex combination is less than equals to g at p prime. So this implies that the function g is concave. Okay. Now this question is very difficult from the perspective of the exam. So the idea is that you could have done it in exam only if you knew this beforehand. Okay, so if you knew it beforehand, you could do it. If you don't know it beforehand, it would be very hard to prove it in exam. So it's best to just let go of questions like this if you feel that it is very difficult, taking a lot of time. So don't attempt this in the initial first part. So come back to it after you have done all the easier parts.